of women, all hooded and caped in black chadors that made them seem, to me at least, like ravens robbed of flight. From an early age, I had known to link my steps in with hers, imagining there was a short, invisible string between us. I still pretended it was there when I was 13, but by then I also allowed myself to look up and around me. As we passed beneath the ornate walls that stood taller than any tree I had ever seen, I stared at the vaulted ceilings that shone above. Their blue and gold tiles always made me feel as though I was at the bottom of an ocean, that above the roof was some unknown, mysterious world. "Faster, Annahita," she said, as I fumbled with my shoes outside. Though I was already as tall as her, it was still a struggle to keep up as Khanum sped down the alleys that bunched up behind the mosque. The string is being stretched tighter than usual today, I thought. When we reached her house off Farshadi Street, I assumed that Khanum would relax. Like any Muslim girl, I knew the change that came across a woman as soon as she crossed the threshold into her home. Once the door shut and the chadors were removed, we could all lose the act. Laughter would return to our world, as would music and color. But that morning, Khanum did not remove her chador. She did not laugh or joke or impersonate the pompous men who paraded about the mosque. Nor did she twirl around the kitchen, and her feet and eyes did not dance in time as she prepared the black tea, fruit, and cheese. She just moved in silence. I watched, equally mute, following her to the courtyard outside when our simple meal was ready. Khanum's courtyard was one of the finest I knew of. 2 pomegranate trees stood guard by the tall metal gate, their branches never seeming to run out of the fruit that hung ripe and red. A pool as big as any bed I had ever seen sat in the middle. It was painted blue inside and out, the better to show off the fish that lived within. Low cushions lined the wall to the old house, dwarfed by the tall windows with peaked arches filled with colored glass. Though the world was alive outside its walls, Khanum's garden was an oasis, and like the house it accompanied, belonged to a time when the city of Isfahan was home to a tide of wealthy merchants. I sat next to Khanum on the cushions and watched the pool. My glass was half empty by the time she spoke. "Annahita, do you know how old I was when I married?" I shrugged. "I was 13 years old. It was not my choice, but it was my duty. My husband was also my cousin, and he was twice my age. I knew nothing of what it meant to be the wife and woman that he wanted. I was just a child. He did not treat me well." The silence returned. I knew it was not my place to break it. "After 4 years, he left me. He married another woman and moved to Tehran. I was still a child, and younger than you are now, so I went to live with his mother, my aunt. For 5 years we begged him to return, pleading with him to come back and lift the burden of shame from over me, but he refused. His compromise was to wait until I was 18 years old and divorce me. A little of the shame left me, but I no longer had the protection of his family, so once again I had no choice but to marry. On the day that we married, that man, your grandfather, was more than twice my age." I had heard part of this speech before. I knew that my grandfather was much older than Khanum, old enough for him to be a little more than a vague wisp of memory to me. And I knew that she had been married before, but married at age 13, when she was even younger than I was now. That was new. The information was not the only piece of the puzzle that was new. I had not seen Khanum in this kind of mood before. I had always known her to be strong, to be the kind of woman who would not drop her speed or miss a step as she passed the mullahs outside the mosque. But this was different. It was as if a part of her was missing. 2 glasses sat between us, one empty, the other untouched. Khanum reached out her hands and curled them around mine. Her eyes held me just as tight as her fingers. "Annahita," she said, her voice almost cracked.